Samantha Preston's cardinal rule about blind dates is broken when her coworker sets her up with a tall, smart, and hot mystery man. The disaster is complete when she realizes her date, Dominic Collet, is none other than her company's VP of engineering, the executive she had publicly and drunkenly insulted at the company retreat 3 weeks prior. The Blind Date Disaster, Chapter 1, The Setup. Samantha Preston had exactly 3 rules about blind dates. Meet in a public place, have an escape plan, and never under any circumstances agree to one set up by your coworker who thinks having a pulse is a viable dating criterion. Yet here she was, breaking rule number 3, sitting at table 47 of Chez Pierre, a restaurant so intensely French that the menu didn't bother with English translations, as if monolingualism was a personal failing. She'd arrived 15 minutes early, neurotic, not eager, there was a difference, and had already eaten 2 baskets of bread while rehearsing witty conversation starters in her head. So you're also a human person who exists? Fascinating. No, too weird. I love breathing. Do you love breathing? Worse. Sam sighed and checked her phone for the 17th time. Jennifer from marketing, the architect of this evening's potential disaster, had been frustratingly vague about her date's details. He's tall, successful, super smart. And here's the kicker. He thought you sounded interesting. Jennifer had gushed during their coffee pause yesterday. Interesting, like a car crash, or interesting like a museum exhibit? Sam had asked. Does it matter? He's hot. It did matter, actually, but Sam had been single for 8 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days. Not that she was counting, and her mother had started, not so subtly, leaving senior dating site brochures around during family dinners. Apparently, 25 was the new geriatric in her mother's eyes. Sam smoothed down her navy dress, professional, yet floaty, or so the Instagram influencer had claimed, and took a sip of water. The restaurant hummed with the kind of pretentious ambiance that suggested your wallet would be significantly lighter by evening's end. Couples murmured over candlelight, silverware clinked against fine china, and somewhere a pianist played something that sounded vaguely like Debussy but might have just been fancy noodling. Her phone buzzed. Jennifer. He just texted, running 5 minutes late. Don't challenge. Sam. I'm not panicking, I'm just sitting here, totally calm, having eaten approximately 4,000 calories in carbs. Jennifer. That's my girl. Remember, be yourself, but like the fun version of yourself. Not the version that spent last Saturday reorganizing your spice cabinet alphabetically. Sam. It was by cuisine type, thank you very much, which is far more logical. Jennifer. This is why you're single. Sam. I thought I was single because men are trash. Jennifer. They can be both trash and necessary. It's called nuance. Now, put your phone away. Sam slipped her phone into her purse, realizing that she was, in fact, slightly panicking. The thing was, blind dates were basically interviews where both parties lied about their interests and prayed for chemistry that probably wouldn't materialize. She'd been on exactly 7 in her lifetime, and they'd ranged from mildly uncomfortable to faked a family emergency and jumped out a bathroom window. To be fair, that last one had been entirely justified. The guy had brought his fantasy football spreadsheets. She was contemplating whether it was too late to develop a sudden migraine when she saw him walk through the door. Tall? Check. Successful looking in that I own multiple blazers way? Check. Super smart appearance, complete with dark-rimmed glasses that probably cost more than her rent? Check. Also, and this was the kicker that Jennifer had somehow failed to mention, definitely, unmistakably, horrifyingly familiar. No, 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 no. The universe couldn't be this cruel. This was a cosmic joke. This was karma for that time she'd taken her sister's Halloween candy. This was... He spotted her and smiled. Not a happy smile. A smile that said, well, 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 isn't this interesting? Sam's stomach dropped approximately 6 floors and started making its way toward the Earth's core. Because the man walking toward her table, looking unfairly handsome in charcoal slacks and a crisp white shirt, was none other than Dominic Collet, VP of Engineering, company golden boy, and the man she'd accidentally but not really accidentally insulted 3 weeks ago at the company retreat. Chapter 2. The Incident. To understand the full horror of the present moment, one must understand the incident. TechVision Solutions' annual company retreat had been held at a lakeside resort, that was trying very hard to be rustic and luxurious simultaneously, resulting in a weird aesthetic of revealing emotions beams and champagne bars. The entire company had been herded there for 3 days of team building, which mostly meant trust falls and forced fun, with a healthy dose of corporate propaganda mixed in. Sam, who worked as a senior software developer in the gaming division, had been perfectly content to fly under the radar, participate in the simple minimum, and spend most of her time avoiding eye contact with Brad from sales, who thought no was just a starting point for negotiation. Everything had been going fine until the company-wide mixer on the second evening, an event fueled by an open bar and a collective desire to make awkward small talk slightly less awkward through drink. She'd been standing with her friend Marcus from QA, both of them nursing gin and tonics and making snarky commentary about the VP presentations that had consumed the afternoon. I particularly enjoyed the 40-minute PowerPoint about synergistic optimization. Marcus had deadpanned, really spoke to my soul. Nothing says we value innovation like corporate buzzword bingo. Sam had agreed, perhaps on her third drink, which was 2 past her filter's expiration point. That's when Marcus had nodded toward a group of executives near the bar. Speaking of corporate overlords, there's the new VP of engineering, Dominic Collet. Heard he transferred from the Boston office last month. Sam had glanced over. Even from a distance, she could tell he was attractive in that annoying way where someone looked good without appearing to try. He'd been laughing at something, drink in hand, surrounded by a small crowd of people who had that distinct air of laughing at the boss's jokes. Let me guess, Sam had said, her tongue loosened by gin and general disdain for executive posturing. Harvard MBA, thinks disruption is a personality trait, probably refers to himself as a thought leader unironically, and has definitely never actually written a line of code in his life. That's specific, Marcus had replied, wincing. They're all the same, Marcus. They swoop in with their visions and their roadmaps, make our lives hell with unrealistic deadlines, and then take credit when we pull off miracles. Meanwhile, they're probably playing golf and reading leadership books written by other people who've never actually led anything. Sam. And don't even get me started on the whole VP of engineering thing. Half of them couldn't engineer their way out of a paper bag. It's all politics and PowerPoints. Give me a developer who's been in the trenches any day over these smooth talking. Sam. What? Marcus had nodded toward a spot directly behind her. He's literally right behind you. The world had gone into slow motion. Sam had turned, praying that Marcus was joking, that this was some kind of elaborate prank, that she'd turned around to find literally anyone else. Instead, she'd found herself staring directly at Dominic Collet, who had apparently broken away from his fan club and had definitely, absolutely, certainly heard every word she'd said. Up close, he'd been even more annoyingly attractive, with dark hair that looked artfully tousled, sharp cheekbones, and eyes that were currently looking at her with an expression of bemused interest. Don't stop on my account, he'd said, his voice smooth with a hint of amusement. I was particularly interested in the paper bag engineering challenge. Sounds complex. Sam's face had gone through several colors in rapid succession, finally settling on something probably resembling a tomato having an existential crisis. That wasn't personal, he'd offered, because it sounded pretty personal. Also, for the record, Princeton for undergrad, Stanford for graduate work, and I've been coding since I was 12. Currently maintain 3 open-source projects in my spare time. But you're absolutely right about the golf. Terrible at it. Can't stand the sport. And then before Sam could formulate literally any response, he'd smiled. That same smile he'd just given her across Chez Pierre, and walked away. She'd wanted to die. Marcus had tried to console her by pointing out that at least she'd made an impression, which was the least helpful thing anyone had ever said. For 3 weeks, she'd successfully avoided any situation where she might run into Dominic Collet. She'd taken the stairs instead of elevators, eaten lunch at her desk, and developed an intricate knowledge of his schedule through careful observation and light stalking, professionally speaking. And now here he was, standing beside her table, looking down at her with those same bemused eyes. Samantha Preston, I presume? Chapter 3, the date begins. I prefer Sam, she managed, her voice coming out steadier than she felt. And before you say anything, Jennifer set this up, didn't she? Dominic said, sliding into the seat across from her with the kind of fluid grace that suggested he'd never knocked over a water glass or tripped over his own feet in his entire life. Sam nodded mutely. She cornered me last week, said she had the perfect girl for me. Smart, funny, cute, and I quote, could use some loosening up. He picked up the menu, not quite meeting her eyes. She somehow failed to mention that the perfect girl was the same woman who delivered a scathing character assassination at the company retreat. In my defense, Sam said, finding her voice, I didn't know you were behind me. So, you only conflict executives when you think they can't hear you. That's actually pretty standard, honestly. Was that a joke? Sam studied his face, looking for signs of challenge or offense, but found only that same subtle amusement, like he was watching a mildly entertaining show. Look, she said, deciding that honesty was the only way out of this disaster. This is clearly a setup, probably Jennifer's idea of hilarious, and we can both just leave. I'll tell her you never showed. You can tell her I was hideously boring. And we never speak of this again. Deal? Dominic set down his menu and looked at her directly for the first time since sitting down. His eyes, she noticed with irritation, were an unfairly nice shade of hazel. We could do that, he said slowly. Or, and hear me out, we could stay and have dinner. Why would we do that? Because I'm hungry. The food here is excellent, and honestly. He leaned back in his chair. I'm curious. Curious about what? How many more ways I can conflict you? Curious about why Jennifer thought we'd be a good match. She's annoyingly perceptive about these things. Set up 3 couples in the company so far, and they're all disgustingly happy. Maybe her streak is about to end. Maybe. Or maybe. He was interrupted by their waiter, a thin man with an impressive mustache who looked like he took both his job and his facial hair very seriously. Bonsoir. Have we decided? Or shall I give you more time? Sam looked at Dominic, who looked back at her with an expression that was clearly a challenge. Screw it. At least she'd get a good meal out of this nightmare. I'll have the duck confit, she said, butchering the pronunciation spectacularly. Excellent choice, mademoiselle. And for monsieur? The coq au vin, please, and a bottle of the Chateau Margaux. The waiter's eyebrows rose appreciably. The 2015, sir? Is there another? After the waiter left, Sam stared at Dominic. Did you just order a bottle of juice that probably costs more than my car payment? Do you drive a particularly expensive car? I drive a 2012 Honda Civic that makes a weird noise when I turn left. Then yes, probably. He smiled, and Sam felt an unwelcome flutter in her stomach. Consider it an apology for the awkwardness. Well, half an apology. The other half is definitely your responsibility. How magnanimous of you. I thought so. Chapter 4. Dinner and Conversations. Against all odds and Sam's better judgment, dinner was not terrible. The juice arrived, a bottle that did indeed cost more than her car payment, judging by the waiter's reverential handling of it. And after the first glass, Sam felt her shoulders begin to unknot from their defensive position somewhere near her ears. So, Dominic said, after they'd exhausted the safe topics of weather and traffic. Tell me about your work. Jennifer mentioned you're on the gaming team? Are we really doing this? Making polite conversation like you're not my boss's boss's boss? I prefer to think of it as colleague, several levels removed. And yes, I'm genuinely interested. The gaming division is pulling in 30% of our revenue, and from what I hear, that's largely due to the work your team's been doing on Realm of Eternity. Sam blinked. She hadn't expected him to actually know anything about her project. You've heard of Realm of Eternity? I've played Realm of Eternity. Level 47 Paladin, specializing in protection builds. Fairly solid game mechanics, though the buff stacking system could use some balancing. Sam set down her juice glass with a thunk. You play ROE? Is that so surprising? You're a VP, you're supposed to be too busy optimizing synergies and leveraging paradigms. He laughed. A genuine laugh that crinkled the corners of his eyes. I see my corporate stereotype is alive and well. I focus dislike to disappoint you, but I'm also a human being with hobbies. Gaming, reading, a concerning habit to true crime podcasts. A cat named Schrödinger, who may or may not be alive at any given moment. You have a cat named Schrödinger? I contain multitudes. Despite herself, Sam smiled. Okay, fine. Points for the cat name. But protection builds? Really? That's so conservative. Says the person who probably runs a rogue assassin with min-maxed DPS stats. I'll have you know my rogue assassin is perfectly balanced. High risk, high reward. High risk of dying constantly, you mean? A calculated risk. Their food arrived, and as mate ate, the conversation flowed with increasing ease. They debated game mechanics, argued about the best fantasy series. Sam was firmly Team Sanderson, while Dominic defended Tolkien with surprising passion, and somehow ended up in a heated discussion about whether Han shot first. He did, obviously. I still can't believe you actually code, Sam said, somewhere between her second and third glass of juice. The world had taken on a pleasant, slightly fuzzy quality. Most VPs I've met think GitHub is a type of social media. What can I say? I sold out, but I kept my skills. Dominic refilled her glass. I actually miss it sometimes. The immediate feedback loop. You write something, you run it, you see results. Executive work is all long-term strategy and endless meetings where people say a lot without saying anything. Then why do it? He considered this, swirling his juice thoughtfully. Honestly, I thought I could make a difference. Change the culture, push for better work-life balance, advocate for the engineers who are actually building things. He smiled ruefully. Idealistic, right? Naive, Sam corrected, but not unkindly. The system eats idealists for breakfast. So I'm discovering. But I'm stubborn. I noticed you stayed for dinner with someone who publicly insulted you. You're never going to let me forget that, are you? Would you? Absolutely not. I'd milk it for all it's worth. He leaned forward slightly. For what it's worth, you weren't entirely wrong. A lot of executives are exactly what you described. I've met them, worked with them, been bored to emotion by their TED Talk speaking style and complete lack of substance. But generalizing is dangerous. Some of us are actually trying, and some developers, he gave her a pointed look, can be just as dogmatic and dismissive, convinced that anyone who isn't writing code couldn't possibly understand the real work. Sam opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. He had a point, much as she hated to admit it. Okay, fine. Maybe I occasionally paint with a broad brush. Occasionally? Don't push it. You're still on probation. Chapter 5. The plot thickens. Dessert arrived, a chocolate souffle that looked like it had been crafted by pastry angels, and with it, a subtle shift in the evening's energy. They moved past the careful politeness of strangers, past the awkwardness of their history, and into something that felt dangerously close to actual rapport. So why did you agree to this? Sam asked, emboldened by juice and chocolate. The blind date, I mean. You're successful. Attractive, I can admit that, objectively, and you probably have people throwing themselves at you. You'd think, but actually, the higher you climb, the weirder dating becomes. People either want something from you, or they're intimidated by the title. It's exhausting. Poor VP, so burdened by success and good looks. I sense sarcasm. You sense correctly. He smiled. Your turn. Why did you say yes? Sam sighed. Loneliness. Boredom? I don't know. A nagging concern that I'll die alone in my apartment and my cat will eat my face. You have a cat? No, but I'm considering it for the face-eating contingency plan. That's dark. That's realistic. She took another bite of souffle, letting the chocolate melt on her tongue. Honestly, I've been single for a while, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm too opinionated, too sarcastic, too focused about things that don't matter. Like game mechanics? Exactly like game mechanics. Dominic set down his spoon and looked at her with unexpected seriousness. For what it's worth, I don't think you're too much. I think you're... He paused, searching for words. Refreshingly honest. Most people tell me what they think I want to hear. You told me exactly what you thought. Consequences be damned. And then panicked for 3 weeks. Well, yes, there was that. Sam laughed despite herself. This is so weird. What is? This, us. Having a nice time when we should be awkwardly avoiding eye contact and counting the minutes until we can leave? Are you having a nice time? He asked it casually, but Sam caught the genuine curiosity underneath. She considered lying, playing it cool, maintaining thoughtful distance. Then she remembered that ship had sailed approximately 3 glasses of expensive juice ago. Yeah, she admitted. Against all odds and my better judgment, I am. Good. Me too. The waiter appeared with the check, and Sam reached for her purse, but Dominic waved her off. I've got it. I can pay for my half. I'm a modern woman with a checking account and everything. I don't doubt it. But I invited you technically, and I ordered the expensive juice, so I'm paying. He handed over his credit card. You can get the next one. The next one? Was that too presumptuous? Should I have played it cooler? Waited 3 days to text. Sam's heart did a small, unwelcome flip. You want there to be a next one? I do. Unless you're still planning to avoid me at the office, in which case, this has been a lovely one-time experience. I don't know if this is a good idea, Sam said, even as part of her brain was already planning outfits for a hypothetical second date. Office relationships are complicated. So are most things worth doing. That's annoyingly wise. I try. Chapter 6. The After. They left the restaurant together, stepping out into the cool evening air. The city hummed around them, cars passing, people laughing, the distant wail of a siren. Sam pulled her jacket tighter and immediately regretted not bringing a warmer coat because fashion choices made in the safety of her apartment rarely accounted for actual weather. Cold? Dominic asked. I'm fine. You're shivering. It's a light shiver, barely noticeable. Without asking, he shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It smelled like expensive cologne and wool, and Sam had to resist the urge to burrow into it like a hibernating animal. That's very rom-com of you, she said. I'm a man of many cliches. He nodded toward the street. Can I walk you to your car, or call you an Uber? I promise I'm not trying to find out where you live for nefarious purposes. My car's in the garage 2 blocks down. And nefarious purposes? Really? I'm trying to sound non-threatening. Is it working? Not particularly, but I appreciate the effort. They walked in comfortable silence for a moment, navigating around other pedestrians and a musician playing saxophone with more enthusiasm than skill. So, Dominic said eventually, about work. Oh God, are we about to have the let's keep this professional talk? Actually, I was going to suggest the opposite. If we're doing this, dating, seeing each other, whatever terminology makes you comfortable, we should probably establish some ground rules. You want to set ground rules for hypothetical dating? I'm an engineer. I like structure. Fine. Rule number 1, no special treatment at work. I don't want anyone thinking I slept my way to better projects or promotions. Agreed. Rule number 2, complete transparency. If something's bothering you, work stuff, personal stuff, the fact that I ordered juice without asking your preference first, you tell me. I like the juice. But the principle stands. Sam considered. Rule number 3, we keep it quiet for now, not secret, but private. At least until we figure out if this is actually going somewhere or if it's just a juice-fueled mistake we'll both regret. You think this might be a mistake? I think I insulted you 3 weeks ago, and now I'm wearing your jacket and mentally planning our second date, so clearly my judgment is suspect. He laughed. Fair enough. Private it is. They'd reached the parking garage. This is you? Unless you want to walk me all the way to my car like we're in a 1950s movie. I do, actually. Of course you do. The garage was poorly lit and echoed with their footsteps. Sam's Civic sat in its usual spot, looking particularly unimpressive next to a Tesla and a Mercedes. Don't judge my car, she said preemptively. I would never. Though you should really get that noise checked out. It adds character. They stood next to her car, and suddenly the easy conversation of the evening evaporated, replaced by that particular awkwardness of end-of-date logistics. Soft look, hug, handshake, elaborate secret gesture. I had a really nice time, Sam said, going for honesty since subtlety had never been her strong suit. Shockingly nice, given the circumstances. The circumstances being that you thought I was an incompetent executive, and I knew you thought I was an incompetent executive. Those exact circumstances, yes. Dominic stepped slightly closer, not invasively closer, but closer enough that Sam had to tilt her head up to maintain eye contact. Can I tell you a secret? Is it about how you're actually a spy sent to take our gaming code? Even better, when Jennifer told me about you, before I knew who you were, I looked you up, read your work profile, checked out your contributions to the ROE project. You're brilliant, Sam. Genuinely brilliant. And then at the retreat, when you were ranting about executives, I thought... He paused, smiling. I thought you were magnificent. Completely wrong about me, but magnificent. You thought I was magnificent while I was insulting you? I have a thing for women who speak their minds. It's both a blessing and a curse. Sam's brain had officially short-circuited. That's either really healthy or concerning. I can't tell which. Let's go with healthy. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture so smooth that Sam briefly wondered if he'd practiced it. Can I soft-talk you? Or is that against the rules we just established? Her heart was hammering so hard she was certain he could hear it. We didn't establish any rules about kissing, a glaring oversight on our part. Extremely glaring. He was still waiting for an actual answer, she realized. Consent was apparently not optional in his playbook, which earned him several thousand bonus points. Yes, she said, barely above a whisper. You can soft-look me. He did. It was a good soft look, the kind that started soft and questioning, then deepened into something that made Sam's knees go embarrassingly weak. He tasted like chocolate and juice, and his hand came up to cup her face with unexpected gentleness. And oh God, she was going to have to text Jennifer a thank you note, wasn't she? When they finally broke apart, Sam was breathing hard, and Dominic looked satisfyingly disheveled. So, he said, his voice slightly rougher. Still think this is a mistake? Undetermined. I'll need more data. More data, right. He kissed her again, briefer this time. How's that for data? Getting there. You're going to make me work for this, aren't you? Absolutely, Sam grinned. You're on probation, remember? Chapter 7, The Aftermath. Sam drove home in a daze. Dominic's jacket still wrapped around her shoulders. He'd insisted she keep it. Would get it back on their second date, wink wink. Her phone buzzed approximately 47 times, all messages from Jennifer demanding updates. When she finally got home to her small apartment, she found her phone and typed Sam. I focus dislike you. Jennifer, that good, huh? Sam, you set me up with Dominic Collet, the VP I insulted, at the retreat. Jennifer, I know, isn't it perfect? The warm intensity, the enemies to lovers arc. Sam, this isn't a fanfic, Jennifer. Jennifer, your life should be so lucky. So, details? Did you end him? Are you getting married? Both? Sam, we're getting coffee, tomorrow, maybe. Jennifer, tomorrow. Sam Preston, you move fast. Sam, it's just coffee. Jennifer, nothing is ever just coffee. I'm a genius. You're welcome. I expect to be maid of honor. Sam, I'm blocking you now. Jennifer, no you're not. You love me. The terrible thing was, Jennifer was right. Sam didn't block her. Instead, she flopped onto her couch, still wearing Dominic's jacket, and allowed herself to smile like an idiot at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed again. Not Jennifer this time. Unknown number. Made it home safely, or did your car finally give up the ghost? Dominic. Sam saved his number with fingers that were definitely not trembling. Sam. Survived, though the left turn noise has evolved into more of a grinding sound. I think my car is judging my life choices. Dominic. Smart car. About tomorrow. How's 10 a.m. at Brewster's? Fair warning, I'm insufferable before caffeine. Sam. 10 a.m. works. And I'm insufferable after caffeine, so we'll balance each other out. Dominic. It's a date. Your second one, if anyone's counting. Sam. Who's counting? Me. Definitely me. Sleep well, Samantha Preston. Sam. It's Sam. And you too, Dominic Collet. She set down her phone and stared at it like it might burst. This was insane. She was going on a second date with her VP. A VP she publicly insulted. A VP who played video games, had a cat named after a physics thought experiment, and kissed like he'd majored in it at Stanford. Her life had become a warm comedy. Jennifer was never going to let her live this down. Chapter 8. Monday morning. The weekend passed in a blur of text messages. Dominic was, unfortunately, excellent at texting, witty, consistent, and capable of using punctuation correctly. And a coffee date that turned into lunch, that turned into a walk through the park, that turned into dinner. We're either very efficient daters or we have no self-control. Sam had observed somewhere around hour 6. Can't it be both? Dominic had replied, and then kissed her against a tree like they were in a movie, and Sam's brain had stopped forming coherent objections. But now it was Monday morning, and reality had come crashing back with the force of a freight train made of awkwardness and HR implications. Sam sat at her desk, staring at her code without seeing it. Dominic had texted her that morning, ready for the most professional day of professional professionalism that ever professionaled. Sam, I'm going to pretend I didn't spend most of yesterday with my tongue in my VP's mouth. Dominic, our secret, though if anyone asks, you have terrible taste in men, and I have questionable judgment. Sam, at least we're on the same page. You look weird. Sam jumped. Marcus had appeared beside her desk, holding 2 cups of coffee and wearing an expression of deep suspicion. I look normal. You look like you're having an internal crisis. What happened? Did you finally reorganize your code repository and achieve nirvana? Nothing happened. I'm fine. You're a terrible liar. You've been staring at that same function for 10 minutes, and you have a weird smile. I don't have a smile. You definitely have a smile. It's disturbing. Marcus set down one of the coffee cups. Spill. There's nothing to spill. Was it the blind date? Did he turn out to be a serial killer? Are you in a trunk somewhere and this is your ghost? Despite herself, Sam laughed. He wasn't a serial killer. But there was a he, and judging by your face, it went well. It went fine. Fine means terrible. Good means fine. You're past good. This is great territory, maybe even heading toward excellent. Marcus leaned against her desk. Who is he? Do I know him? Is he worthy of my best friend's affection? You're so dramatic. Someone has to be since you have the thoughtful expressiveness of a robot. Come on, give me something. Sam considered. They'd agreed to keep things private, but Marcus was her best friend, and he'd find out eventually anyway. The office gossip mill was ruthlessly efficient. You kind of know him, she admitted. Ooh, mysterious. Is he on our team? No. Engineering division? Sort of. Sam, I swear to God. It's Dominic Collet. Marcus's face went through a journey. Confusion, realization, shock, horror, delight, and finally landing on something resembling manic glee. The Dominic Collet? VP Dominic Collet? The guy you— Yes, the guy I insulted. Keep your voice down. This is the best thing that's ever happened. Marcus was grinning like a lottery winner. This is better than when Brad from sales got caught using the company card at a strip club. This is better than— Marcus, focus, and don't tell anyone. You're dating a VP. How are you going to hide that? We're not dating. We've been on 2 dates. That's barely a statistical sample. 2 dates over 1 weekend? That's not a sample, that's a relationship. It's complicated. It's hilarious is what it is. Marcus sobered slightly. But seriously, are you okay? This isn't going to make things weird at work. Things are already weird at work. I've been avoiding elevators for 3 weeks. Fair point. He squeezed her shoulder. For what it's worth, I think it's great. Dominic seems like a decent guy, actually knows what he's doing, treats people with respect. Plus he's hot if you're into the whole successful, intelligent, glasses-wearing thing. I might be into that thing. You're so predictable. Chapter 9, The Complication. Things remained blissfully uncomplicated for exactly 5 days. Sam and Dominic maintained perfect professionalism at the office. No lingering glances, no secret smiles. No indication that they were spending every evening together, either at restaurants or her apartment or his place, which was, annoyingly, beautifully decorated and came with a cat who immediately loved Sam more than his owner. They texted constantly, had inside jokes, and were rapidly approaching that dangerous territory where seeing each other became relationship. And then the project assignment happened. Sam was in a meeting with her team lead, discussing the roadmap for Realm of Eternity's next expansion when the bomb dropped. We're getting some executive oversight on this one, her lead, Patricia, announced. Given the revenue projections, the C-suite wants to ensure we're aligned with broader company strategy. Sam's stomach sank. Executive oversight meaning Dominic Collet will be checking in on our progress. Weekly meetings, probably some one-on-ones with senior developers. Patricia looked directly at Sam. You're our lead engineer on this expansion, so you'll be working with him most closely. Of course she would. Sam excused herself from the meeting as soon as possible and texted Dominic. Sam, did you know about this? Dominic, about what? Sam, you're overseeing my project. Weekly meetings, direct collaboration. Dominic, I just found out this morning. I was trying to figure out how to tell you. Sam, this is a disaster. Dominic, it doesn't have to be. Sam, everyone's going to think you're giving me special treatment, or that I'm sleeping with you for project advantages. Never mind that we started dating after. That's not how office gossip works. Dominic, then we tell them. Make it official, transparent. Take away the power of gossip. Sam, or we could stop. Take a pause until the project's done. Dominic, is that what you want? Sam stared at her phone. Was it what she wanted? The logical part of her brain, admittedly not the part currently in charge, said yes. Clean pause, avoid complications, resume dating once the project was complete, and there was no conflict of interest. But the illogical part, the part that had spent the last 5 days falling dangerously close to being in love with a man who brought her coffee exactly how she liked it, and listened to her rant about game balance for hours, said absolutely not. Sam. No, but I don't want to be the office scandal. Dominic, come to my office. We'll figure this out. Sam, I can't just come to your office. People will notice. Dominic, it's work-related. You're the lead engineer on a project I'm overseeing. We have legitimate reasons to meet. Sam, you're very logical for someone suggesting something completely insane. Dominic, it's one of my most annoying qualities. 4 p.m.? Sam, fine. But if this blows up in our faces, I'm blaming you. Dominic. Noted. Chapter 10. The office. Dominic's office was on the executive floor, a realm Sam had avoided like it might bite her. Everything was intensely corporate. Glass walls, modern furniture, and an unsettling number of motivational posters that said things like innovate and synergize. His assistant, a cheerful woman named Rosa, smiled at Sam. You must be Samantha. Go right in, he's expecting you. Sam entered to find Dominic standing by his window, looking out over the city. He turned when she entered, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. Close the door, he said. She did. Are we about to have a very professional conversation about project management? Extremely professional. He crossed the room and kissed her, which was decidedly unprofessional, but very effective at making Sam forget why she was worried. We can't do this here, she said, even as she kissed him back. The door's closed. The windows are one-way glass. Another soft look. And I've missed you. You saw me 6 hours ago. Like I said, missed you. Sam laughed and pushed him away gently. Focus. We have an actual problem. Right, the problem. Dominic straightened his glasses and moved to his desk, gesturing for her to sit. Here's what I'm thinking. We tell Patricia and HR. Make it official. I'll recuse myself from any performance reviews or compensation decisions related to you. All project feedback goes through Patricia, and I'll ensure there are always other people in our meetings. That's very structured. I told you, I like structure. He leaned against his desk. But if you think it's going to cause you problems, I can request to be taken off the project entirely. They won't love it. But I can make it happen. Sam considered. Part of her wanted him to do exactly that. Remove the complication, make things easier. But another part, the part that was perhaps slightly competitive and definitely stubborn, bristled at the idea. No, she said finally. That's not fair to you or the project. You're good at your job, annoyingly good, and the project will benefit from your oversight. But if we're doing this, we do it right. Full transparency, clear boundaries, and at the first sign that it's affecting the team or my credibility, we reassess. Agreed, he smiled. You're really good at negotiation. Has anyone ever told you that? I'm a software developer. We negotiate deadlines with project managers daily. It's excellent training. Noted for future reference. They spent the next hour actually working, discussing project timelines, technical challenges, and resource allocation. It was surprisingly easy to slip into professional mode, and Sam was reminded that Dominic actually knew what he was talking about. His suggestions were insightful, his questions pointed, and he caught several potential bottlenecks that Sam's team had missed. You really do know how to code, she said at one point. I've been telling you that. I'm a woman of science. I need evidence. Want me to pair program with you sometime? Though I warn you, my coding style might offend your sensibilities. Now I definitely need to see it. They were grinning at each other like idiots when Rosa knocked on the door. Sorry to interrupt, but your 5 o'clock is here. Dominic glanced at his watch. Already? Thanks, Rosa. He looked at Sam. Dinner tonight? My place? I'll cook. You cook. I contain multitudes, remember? You keep saying that. Because it keeps surprising you. He stood, offering his hand to help her up. A gesture that was perfectly professional, but felt charged with their context. 7 o'clock? I'll be there. Sam left his office trying to maintain a professional demeanor, and absolutely failing. She could feel herself smiling, and had to consciously relax her face muscles before returning to her desk. Marcus took one look at her and groaned. You have it so bad. I have work to do. You have it so bad. He wasn't wrong. Epilogue. 3 months later. I can't believe you didn't tell me. Jennifer wailed, clutching her champagne glass dramatically. 3 months. You've been dating for 3 months, and I had to hear about it from Rosa in Dominic's office. We were keeping it private, Sam said, trying not to laugh. They were at a company happy hour, and after weeks of careful discretion, she and Dominic had decided to stop hiding. The response had been mixed. Most people were surprised. A few were scandalized. Brad from sales had made an inappropriate joke and been immediately shut down by Dominic's withering stare. And Jennifer had been personally offended that her matchmaking success hadn't been immediately acknowledged. Private? I set you up. I deserve credit. You deserve a restraining order for your meddling, Sam countered, but she hugged Jennifer anyway. But fine, yes, you were right. Happy? Ecstatic. I'm putting this on my resume. Professional matchmaker, specializing in enemies to lovers scenarios. Across the bar, Dominic used talking to Marcus and a few other developers. Sam watched him laugh at something Marcus said, his entire face lighting up, and felt that now familiar flip in her chest. 3 months in, and she was still discovering new things about him. Like how he was terrible at cooking. Dinner that first night had been a disaster of burned pasta and missed alarms. How he got unreasonably competitive about board games. How he left notes in her code reviews that were equal parts helpful critique and terrible puns. How he looked at her like she was the most fascinating person in the room. Even when she was ranting about optimization algorithms at 2 a.m. He caught her eye across the room and smiled, and Sam smiled back, not caring who saw. You guys are disgustingly cute, Jennifer observed. I know. Like rom-com cute? Like I should focus dislike you but I can't because it's so sweet. Are you done? Never. Jennifer clinked their glasses together. But seriously, Sam, I'm really happy for you. Thanks, Jen. Sam took a sip of champagne. And thanks for setting up the blind date, even if you did manipulate both of us into it. All's fair in love and matchmaking. Dominic extracted himself from his conversation and made his way over, slipping an arm around Sam's waist with the casual comfort of 3 months together. Ladies, he greeted. Jennifer, thank you again for your services. You're welcome. I accept payment in the form of being maid of honor at your eventual wedding. Slow down, Sam said, but she was laughing. Am I invited to this hypothetical wedding? Dominic asked. That depends. Are you going to make me take your last name? I was thinking we could hyphenate. Preston Collet has a nice ring to it. We've been dating 3 months. And I'm a man who knows what he wants. He kissed her temple. But we can table the wedding discussion if it's too much too soon. You think? Jennifer was watching them with undisguised glee. I love my job. You work in marketing, Sam pointed out. And this is the best campaign I've ever run. Later, after the happy hour had wound down and they were back at Dominic's apartment, her apartment technically, she'd never quite moved out, but she spent more nights here than there. Sam found herself thinking about the incident. Hey, she said, emerging from the room in one of his shirts. Princeton, naturally. Can I ask you something? Dominic looked up from his laptop, where he was almost certainly working despite the late hour. Always. That night at the retreat, were you actually insulted, or were you just amused? He considered the question, closing his laptop and giving her his full attention. Honestly, a little of both. The assumption stung a bit. I do try not to be that kind of executive. But mostly I was impressed. Impressed that I insulted you? Impressed that you had the guts to say what most people only think. That you cared enough about your work to be focused about executives who don't. He pulled her onto the couch next to him. I spent the next 3 weeks trying to figure out how to run into you without being creepy. That's what I was doing. Trying to avoid you. I know. You weren't subtle. The stares? Really? I was being cautious. You were being ridiculous. He kissed her. Thank God for Jennifer's meddling. Don't let her hear you say that. Her ego is already insufferable. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, Schrödinger, definitely alive at this moment, purring on the armrest. So, Dominic said eventually, about that wedding. Dominic. Too soon? Way too soon. What about moving in together? You're here 6 nights a week anyway. Sam opened her mouth to say it was too fast, too overwhelmed, too much. Then she looked around at the apartment that had started to feel like home. At the man who'd somehow become her favorite person. At the life that had unexpectedly assembled itself from a disastrous blind date and a company retreat conflict. Ask me again in a month, she said. That's not a no. It's not a no. He grinned, that same grin from their first dinner, the one that made him look younger and slightly mischievous. I can work with that. And somehow, against all odds and Sam's better judgment, she suspected he could. The end.
I love making these videos for you. If you liked this story, then please like, subscribe to my channel, and switch on the notifications for more entertaining stories. Please also leave a comment for any story suggestions.